Greetings, dear viewers. I'm Quill Quickcard, and welcome back to Katawa Shoujo. Very possibly the last episode of Katawa Shoujo. Maybe. Because I have a feeling that there's a fair bit of dialogue and stuff in this upcoming scene that we're probably going to have to skip due to, having adult content turned off and the fact that we are about to help undress Reen. Because she's very wet. Perfectly normal platonic interactions. Only the first button is an obstacle, and after getting into it, I undo the others with slightly less shaking hands. Throwing the soaked shirt aside, I reveal Reen's pale upper body, shrouded only in her light blue brassiere, which instantly reminds me of her saying it's her favorite color. I try not to think too much about stuff, but it's hard not to look at her body while with what I can only think of as mixed feelings. Her face actually looks rather vulnerable here. I don't know, there's something about... Maybe it's the eyes or the expression. Maybe it might just be like the little puffiness of the cheeks, but her face here really does give me a different mood than usual. I don't know what to think of this, so I just watch her. Reen looks brittle. She's like a shell. A fragile thing. Just barely holding together. This is also the first time we've actually gotten to see how much of her arms is actually missing. I had wondered if she was actually missing her arms all the way up to the shoulder with the way that she wore her clothing. But it looks like they go down to probably just around the elbow. If I had to guess, I would say that they probably end before the elbow. Her ribs, each of them visible under her pale skin, are moving up and down in the rhythm of her breaths. Reen always struck me as quite thin, but I realize now that the manic creative period before the exhibition opening might have caused her to lose weight. Did she eat properly and enough? Definitely not, and probably not. Yeah, almost certainly not. This ugly yet beautiful bare minimum of a human body that belongs to someone I care about is a contradiction of aesthetics in itself, oddly becoming of her. My eyes follow her collarbone to her shoulder and down to her arm until the abrupt end. No, it's less than the bare minimum. I think with a passing pang of sadness and some guilt for thinking that. Her arms, degenerated into almost nothing but skin and bone due to lack of use, look very short now that the long sleeves of her uniform are not covering them. My lack of any negative reaction makes me think that I've actually grown pretty accustomed of the various physical abnormalities of my schoolmates. I always wondered why Reen keeps her shirt sleeves long, only tying them in a simple knot at where the elbow would be. It seems a bit impractical, but then again, she is not exactly the pinnacle of practicality. Maybe she likes it. Maybe it is somehow important to her. Maybe there's no deeper meaning to it. I feel like asking, and almost do, but Reen's miserable state requires a higher priority of my attention. She stopped talking, too, after we ran out of spiky greetings. I guess there's no need for chit-chat, then. I pick up the towel from the bed and wrap it around her head, rumpling it all over her hair until almost most of the rainwater is hopefully soaked into the fabric. She peeks from below the towel at me, looking up with impassive eyes. Looks like she wants to say something without saying it. It's that kind of look. But I can't read what she is thinking about from her face, so I just keep fussing with the towel around her shoulders and hair. The silence is oppressive, terrifying. Communication between us has suddenly been reduced to the movements of my hands on the towel, and Reen swaying her body to and fro. My jagged breathing and her quiet breaths trying to find a common rhythm that just is not there. I think I can hear her heartbeats, or maybe they are just mine redoubled. As I brush a rogue strand of hair aside from her ear, Reen suddenly presses her cheek against the back of my hand. The contact is electric, a jolt of current surging through me. Whether she seeks comfort, warmth, or just my touch, I wouldn't know. But I can't help touching her back, caressing her soft cheek with my hand. And with closed eyes, she kisses me, on the fingers, counting the joints with her lips. That is a weird... Okay, unless she's sucking on your finger, I don't know how she'd be counting the joints with her lips. And even if she was, that's a very strange way to say that. I am saddened beyond my expressive capability. Here we are, a boy and girl, both in love or something like that with each other, or maybe not, and yet something is broken. I can feel it in me and in Reen, in the way our gazes merely brush against each other, shying away from contact, and in her closed, timid posture, and in my way of touching her like a china doll, afraid of shattering her delicate form. And how we are closer than we have ever been. Yet I'm not feeling happy. It's like yesterday. When did tenderness and forlornness become one and the same word? Acts of affection start invoking only longing. How? Why did we end up like this? No, don't answer that. I like to say to myself, but fighting against the omniscience of self-awareness is a lost cause. Still, I am here, and Reen is here, and it feels like she might be able to solve whatever problem she has. And if she can, why couldn't I? Why couldn't we? It feels like taking that step is too much, too difficult, too uncertain. So for now, all I can do is dry her up so she won't get a cold again. I pat her head, trying to sort out the hair that refuses to be sorted out even when wet. A pair of dark, glazed eyes follows my every movement. Pants too? She nods in answer, leans back and spreads her legs, with a grotesquely inviting gesture that makes a nasty feeling crawl up and down my spine like a bad premonition. It's not enough to sober me, though, as the silence is starting to make me feel detached from myself. I move automatically without thinking, even though I should. I should talk to her about this, or at least about something. The silence is a spell, a pact that has bound us to this private world made of the dull sound of rainfall and the soft feel of her skin against my fingers. The button of her trousers is fastened tight, but it opens surprisingly easily. Slipping them off is hard, mostly because she's sitting on them, with no intention of standing up to ease my task. I kneel down uncomfortably and titillatingly between her legs, so I can quickly dry her bare feet, remembering that they are as important to her as hands are to me. As I work the towel up from her ankles, Reen brushes her thigh against my cheek and nudges the small of my back with her heel to make me come closer. I look up to meet her silent stare that was waiting for me to look up. That unassuming, expectant stare seems to say that the ball's in my court. I fleetingly brush my hand against her inner thigh. The touch makes her gasp sharply, as if she was trying to hold back breathing. What if I do this, then? The small kiss I place on her thigh is enough to make Reen lose her composure, to shut her eyes, to squeal almost inaudibly. Is that what you want, too? Would it be all right now to take this step? What if... Maybe if... I mean, I think you can just ask out loud. I think that would be polite and appropriate. Hazy thoughts float somewhere in the back of my unfocused mind. Somehow this whole situation is making it hard to think, as if my head was full of cotton fluff. But that's alright. It seems thinking is not something we need right now. Okay, well, there's a scene. So we have these lovely cuttlefish here to keep us company for a few seconds. Thank you, Mr. Cuttlefish. I'm glad that you could stop by. Alright, and apparently this comes with a time skip after to the present. Interesting. Present is a fleeting and vague concept at best. The moment between the past and the future. That doesn't really mean anything. Thinking too much about things that don't make sense is a waste of time. That's why living through the present is always the best option. Besides, for us who can't foresee the future and who forget the past too easily, present is really the only proof of our existence. Even though existence will go on, even if you forget about it for a while, it's good to seize the day at least every once in a while. That way, you can confirm that you are, in fact, alive. I am pretty sure that the girl who is standing there half naked, staring out of the window of my room, has a much better grasp of present than I do. As for me, well, right now I'm somewhat confused by my present state, since I should try to locate my shirt and not stare at Reen's butt. But I just can't stop looking at her. She is so close to the glass that her nose is probably going to leave a mark. At least her breathing does, when it condenses on the rain-cooled window glass before quickly disappearing again. My shuffling around to get dressed doesn't rouse Reen from her contemplation, which is fine, really. I don't mind the silences as much as I used to. Only after I'm almost finished with buttoning up my shirt does Reen say something, still without turning to look at me. Let's go somewhere. Where? I can only assume she is inviting me and not the windowsill, but it's a fair guess. I know. What? Help me get dressed. I think today is the day. Come on, clothes. Clothes, clothes. What an impatient tone. I crouched down to pick up her bra from the floor where it had fallen, discarded in the haste of undressing and forgotten there. Hanging it from between my fingers like a dead fish, the same hesitation that grasped me when I was undressing Reen is creeping inside my head again. Is intimacy really something this difficult for me to handle? Intimacy, like all things, is a skill. It is something that has to be learned and practiced and refined and reinforced over time. No one is a true master at any skill when they're just starting out, Hisao. And that extends into the realms of physical intimacy as well. Come on, you got it off just fine. This is the same, but the other way around. It's like talking backwards. You say, Stida tub drasmies. Seems hard, but it's easy. Perplexed by her sudden and prodigious display of mental processing capacity, I forget to attempt reversing her gibberish back. Pretty sure I couldn't switch to talking backwards that fluidly, even with some practice. Again, talking backwards, another skill. Could you repeat that? You say it's the tube sneeze. Got it. Fine. I'll give it a try. Reen was right. The locking mechanism is simple enough, and I get the little plastic hooks right on the third attempt. See? There you go. Fair good. There. T stuja at Eva uyib on. Now you have to adjust it. What? Please stop that. I don't speak backwardese. She shakes her head as if needing to banish the backwards way of thinking with a physical gesture. I know a few people who could benefit from that kind of ability. I got stuck. Now you have to adjust it. Adjust? That's what I said. No, I asked what you meant. You know, so that they are... fine. Oh, fine, you say. As I have no idea when her breasts are supposed to be fine, I end up fumbling around her chest for a good while without really getting anywhere. Communication, guys! Not that I would complain, but Reen does. Emmy is better than you at this. Her impatient tone ticks me off, even though I can't really disagree. Reen suddenly seems to be in an awful hurry. Yeah, well, excuse me, but could that be because she is a girl and can actually relate? I don't think so. She has just about... Sorry, this one got me. I don't think so. She has just about as much chest as you do. Reed, you are brutal. You really are. With her bra and breasts eventually fine, as they should, the rest of her clothes are considerably easier to put on. Reen launches towards the door, even though her shirt is not even buttoned all the way up. Left with little choice, I run after her. As soon as I realize that we are heading for the side entrance leading to the forest, I think I know where Reen wanted to go, although I couldn't say why she'd want to go there. Then again, I can't really assume my guess is to be anywhere near correct when Reen is concerned. Not even for a quite generous definition of correct. The forest behind the walls smells of rain. The last raindrops are still dripping from the wet undergrowth into the earth, despite the rain being gone for a long while already. We stroll along with an unhurried pace that Reen sets, giving me time to take in the calming atmosphere. I think I can hear Reen saying hello to at least 3 different trees while she walks past them, but I ignore it just like the trees do. She leads me to the narrow side path leading up to the hilltops, as I guessed. I peek through the canopy trying to find a rainbow, but there doesn't seem to be one. It's perfect weather for rainbows. The sun is shining low, and rain has passed not too long ago. Well, whatever. I lower my eyes from the treetops to see the gaunt back of the girl who is climbing up the hill slowly without losing her balance. A few steps ahead of me on the path, but still within my reach. I don't think I could ever reach a rainbow, but reaching Reen, it seems less impossible than it used to seem. The clear sky greeting us from above, the meadow clearing seems vast and beautiful. A strong wind is herding the rain clouds away from the town to the other side of the mountains in the distance. The sight is pretty, but a speck of white. They bloomed, and now they're scattering. A speck of white flies past the edge of my peripheral vision, but when I turn to look, it's already gone. Another follows, then a third. Before I realize it, dozens of almost invisible small tufts of white are flying all around us. Look, the flowers. Ah, I see it now. The sea of dandelions that covered the hilltop on our last visit has changed over the days. Where there was bright yellow before, now there is now fluffy white. Some of the flowers have already shed their seeds, but many are still waiting for a suitable gust of wind. Today those gusts are not in short demand. Every now and then they shake the grass thoroughly, and suddenly the air is thick with dandelion seeds. One by one, the seeds separate from the flower heads and are lifted away. A commonplace event, but one that seems to fascinate Reen for some reason. Just because an event is common, in the sense that it regularly occurs, does not necessarily mean that you as an individual have truly taken it in or appreciated it in its fullness. This is another very important life lesson. The mundane can still be meaningful. She's turning her head from side to side, marveling at the change happening all around her as the seeds fly away. I watch them too, following the white tufts floating with the wind towards the horizon, and imagine that I can see them even after they disappear from my sight. Hisao. What is it? Do you love me? Finally! That's probably about as close to an outright admission of you loving me as we're gonna get. But I assume that you'll reciprocate in some form if we confirm it. I snap to attention to meet her suddenly very serious face that is not looking only at the flowers anymore. What a tough question asked just like that out of the blue. Still, her bluntness compels me to answer rapidly. I don't know. Maybe I do. Maybe too rapidly. What does that mean? I don't know. Reen sighs, perhaps unhappy with my wishy-washy answer. I would be too. Me neither. I don't think I know much about love. It's fine, isn't it? How should I know? The shrug of her shoulders seems to say, hesitating to give a firmer answer. She stays silent for only a second too long. But even that second isn't long enough for me to think ahead. I love you. Those 3 words freeze me in place like a rabbit staring into headlights. But I'm not a rabbit, and I'm just staring into Reen's eyes that seem far, far too impassive for what she just let out of her mouth. Reen looks pretty serious, though, until she sticks out her tongue, frowns a little, and confuses me even more than her words did. Damn it, Reen. Okay, alright, you get a pass. You're not used to letting out your feelings that bluntly. I get it. Why does she look mildly unhappy? Was it a confession of her deepest feelings? A test to see how I would react? A test to see how she would react? It tastes weird. tastes? Yeah. So weird. She laughs, maybe nervously, or so I want to think, but stops midway when she notices how strange it sounds. Like, I don't know what. I don't think there is a word for this. Ring keeps on talking, as though there was no meaning behind her words, steady and careless words dropping from the same tongue and formed the more important ones. A word for, except, it's like she can't. Find the words. Reen just keeps staring at me, stumbling with her words as if her brain suddenly ground to a halt. She looks awfully confused, much like how I feel right now as I wait for her to explain. But she doesn't. She just blinks a few times, the flutter of her long lashes catching my fancy because she looks like she is petrified otherwise. Until I realize what they were fighting against. It's those weird tears again. Not associated with sadness or happiness, not pitiable sobbing nor laughter of joy. Just tears. Spontaneously and without a warning. Like that one time in her classroom. Just a few of them. Not enough to make a fuss about, so Reen doesn't make a move to hide them even after noticing. Reen cries, looking like she has no idea why, and somehow a great uneasiness grows in my chest when I look into her watery eyes that stare right back at me. It petrifies me, too, the shock of the incomprehensibility of the situation. I just don't know what is happening anymore. Reen, what's wrong? She shakes her head in confusion, stumbling to get the words out of her mouth. Sorry. I might be a little afraid of you. The words are muttered slowly, with a small voice that is as disbelieving of what it's saying as I am. What? Why? I don't know. Saying that just made me feel like that. People cry when they are afraid, right? See? I can do it too. She's averting her gaze now, deliberately not looking at me. It bewilders me at least as much as what she is saying. I sometimes with you want to run away so badly, but I can't move. It's like my legs turn into lemon panna cotta pudding. My heart feels like it's going to explode, and... She slumps her shoulders melancholically. Has a thing like this ever happened to you? I remember the leaden sky above the frozen forest, and the sound of the leafless branches clacking against each other. You remember your heart attack. It's like a memory from another life. Yeah. Once. My heart hurt a lot back then, too. But I thought your thing was not contagious. I shake my head, and a tiny, slightly forced smile rises on my lips. The other ailment of my heart could very well be contagious, and I wouldn't care a bit. What are you afraid of? I never thought I was scary. Reen shakes her head desperately, as if knowing that the tangle inside her mind won't be undone with just that. You make me feel that I should be someone else than me. It's a scary thing. It happens when you are being nice to me, like yesterday. I never know what to do at times like that. It's hard. Her voice is barely audible, a whispered admission of something that is too embarrassing to even think, not to mention to say aloud. Rena's never been one to be embarrassed, so she does utter it aloud, only timidly as if by instinct. But I want to do something. But I don't know if this me can. Well, nope, no right click. For a moment, we just stare at each other, as if waiting for the other to say something. You're so stupid. Reen's lips taste salty and scared against mine. As I grasp her into an embrace, I feel my heart thumping in my chest painfully. Even though I am glad that she can say things like that, they make me sad after all. Reen's spirit, her passion, her strength, all those things that I hold dear are the ones I don't want to change. How should I treat them? Where are they headed to? Is that future irrevocably different from mine? That anxiety will never lose its grip on my heart, but I think I could learn to live with it. Slowly, the pain in my heart dies out, and it settles into the same rhythm as Reen's. We listen to that for some time. After our lips break apart, it takes a while for either of us to realize that we can say something now. See, you are a really kind person, even when you are not. It's the most scariest thing ever. I think that all I was ever afraid of is your kindness. Is it bad? Even if you are afraid? She thinks about this for a while, furrowing her brows, though this was some kind of hard math problem. No, I'm all right with it. It's fine, if it's you. Like a weight lifted from my chest, her words elate my heart, filling it with, I don't know, happiness? What else could it be? This time my smile is genuine. Reen steps back, still smiling gently at me like I do at her. While she wipes her face on her shoulder, I pick up a round, plump dandelion clock and bring it to my pursed lips. They spread out into the wind that picks them up to carry them to a new home. To think, only a few short weeks ago, they were so different. This is change. Hey, so the flowers became what they were meant to become, like you said the last time. What about you? Did you become a true artist? Or did you not because you ran away? She pauses for a while to ponder my question, and shrugs her shoulders. It almost makes me laugh. The carefree easiness of her gesture is a lovely thing, a sign of how Reen can, truly and really, without any restraints whatsoever, shed the entire weight of the world from her shoulders should she will so. She is, in every possible, and probably a few impossible ways, free. And I think I might love her for that. I don't think it matters. Let's just watch the clouds for today. She takes 5 steps to climb on a large rock so she can rise as high as it's possible here and stands on tiptoes. When you reach for the clouds, every inch counts. Sure, let's watch the clouds. It's good to do something you really want to do every now and then. Yeah, you are probably right. I glance upwards at the blue sky opening high above us. It's a deep, cerulean vastness that spreads to fill my entire field of vision and beyond. Yet Reen stays on her rock, peering at the distant horizon where the rain clouds are drifting farther away from us. I have decided something. That dreaming voice of hers, spoken to the wind that carries it to my ears, is lacking resolve in tone, but is full of it in meaning. It's all right to be me, after all. It's all right? Her decisions always seem to be pretty far out. Well, I suppose that is an important realization. Coming to terms with oneself, accepting yourself, being fine with what you are. A simple resolution of heart that for some people is overbearingly hard to do, if not impossible. I do realize well enough that I might also be one of those people. Reen too. Maybe we are not that different after all. Maybe to accept someone else, you must first accept yourself. I have always, and will always probably believe that that sentiment is at best incomplete and at worst flatly false. Maybe that is a necessary step which we didn't take until now. Looking at her standing on that rock, I believe that she can find whatever she is looking for. And so can I. The wind catches her hair and clothes, and Reen spreads her short arms into an embrace that is so very, very tiny, but as wide as she can ever do. For a moment it looks like she herself might take flight, and I have to hold myself back not to reach for her shoulder, to not drag her back to me. But this picture is something I can only watch. It is something for me to remember. Reen's sleeves are flapping freely in the wind, her hair wildly tousled by it, her skin touched by the setting sun. Her sleek form that I've come to adore is quivering in the cool wind that carries the small white specks past her, each a beginning of a new flower. All that is engraved inside my heart. Like those tiny seeds scattered into the wind, I'm sure that Reen too can take her place in this world without the need to create her own inside of it. Maybe she believes it too, and standing as close to heaven as possible, she is giving the world a big hug. To me it seems like the entire world really could fit there, between those small arms of hers, inside her all-encompassing embrace. Hisao. She looks at me in the same way she calls my name, carelessly over her shoulder with a strange happiness in her voice and in her eyes. I gaze into those mysterious dark eyes that are curiously twinkling from below her auburn hair. Although I'm too far from her to see it, I'm sure they are reflecting my image. What is it? What's the word for when it feels inside your heart that everything in the world is all right? Contentment. The word is contentment. And that is the end of the Reen route of Katawa Shoujo, the disabled girl dating sim. organized first on 4chan so many years ago. This was a fantastic experience. I am so glad I decided to go the Reen route. She is extremely fascinating as a character. I would like to issue my personal thanks to everyone who worked to make this game what it is. What is that? 2015? This is a remarkable piece of art. I enjoyed it immensely. I will be exploring the other girls' routes. Won't be doing series on those. These take so many episodes to do. That's something I'll be doing on my own time. This was just wonderful. I really enjoyed this. This was, unironically, one of the better visual novels I've actually ever played. Interestingly enough. And the fact that it's just free and out there and was basically thrown together starting as little more than a shit post is honestly quite remarkable. And I think it's fitting that I followed the route of a budding artist for a game that was developed in that way. But for now, one journey has come to an end, and more yet lie ahead. Thank you so much for joining me for this. And I will see you all on the next one.